Hello, Abigail here with the astrology for this week. And yes, it is another one of those red letter weeks in early 2026. A lot of the major astrology of 2026, or at least the big events, happen in like the first half of the year. So we're in the thick of it. This week has some really big moments. It is kind of the opening of the Mercury retrograde. We enter the shadow. We're also technically in the eclipse season. And so it's just a really big energetic week. We do have some stuff that offsets it and I think adds like a nice gentle vibe to some of this. So that's a bright side for all of us. But let's get into the astrology. So starting on Tuesday, we have Venus entering Pisces. This is where Venus is exalted. And so this is a very happy place for Venus. This is a place where Venus is celebrated, where it moves freely, where it enjoys things. If you are a native with Venus in Pisces, I just want to say it's not all roses. I think we forget with exalted planets that it's an energy of kind of more and less of like always positive. Good can mean a lot of different things. So if you're a native with, I had a conversation with an astrologer about this, another one recently. If you're a native with, and they were a native with Venus in Pisces, there can be some difficulties around seeing things for as they are. There can be issues with um, kind of believing in more than a person is or than a connection is. So I think that's kind of my caution for this cycle is that we can get very, I hate to say this, very positive when it comes to the way people are. So we still need to be aware and see them for who they are as they are. I think the positives of Venus in Pisces is this kind of lush, rich energy of Venusian joy and care. She is in Venus's house, not Venus's house, she is in Jupiter's house, which is her fellow benefic. And so there is this feeling of luxury and comfort and care, which I think is going to offset some of the starker astrology happening, some of the eclipse energy that we're going into. Feel a little nicer. And also it is joining Mercury in Pisces. So we have finally kind of broken up the cluster of intense energy in Aquarius, which is nice. At least for me, I have not been fully enjoying it. It has followed my sixth. And as always, my perennial annual often reminder, look at where all this is happening in your chart. The best way to learn how to read a chart is to take astrology and overlay it on your birth chart, and see how that interacts and comes with your, and kind of unfolds with what you have going on. And it's a great way to learn, especially if you really want to know about your personal experiences in astrology. So yeah, so Tuesday we have Venus going into Pisces. It is a much lusher feel. Still, take people at their word. Don't allow people to sweet talk you during this time. Also, with Mercury in Pisces, the emotional communication is more amplified and is more, the energy is more receptive to it. So, there might be some people who are losing their way through things. So just be aware that Venus and Pisces can kind of make things a bit more fantastical, a bit larger than life. Like I said, it is going to help offset this energy, but it can also create some little pitfalls along the way. It is a beautiful energy, though, which is one of the nice things about Venus and Pisces. So then on Wednesday, we get Mercury entering its shadow period. These are the degrees that we are going to be retrograding through, and it's 8 degrees of Pisces. It's going to station retrograde, I think, on the 26th at 22 degrees of Pisces. So it is fully in Pisces, but we are in the shadow period. We are in the portal, not the center portal, but we are entering into the portal for the eclipses. So just know that if things are feeling heavier, if you're feeling a bit of foreboding or kind of like you're coming to the edge of something, this is why. Also, then we have on Thursday, Mercury conjunct North Node, which is a really beautiful energy. The North Node is a place of progress and change and progression. It is kind of the portal that we move through in order to progress as souls in one of the multitudes of lifetimes that we are currently existing in. So with Mercury having this conjunction, there is an access to creativity and access to our dreams and ability to project into a future. This is a great day to manifest something you've been wanting to manifest, knowing that you were doing it during a very chaotic, energetic time. So my advice for this, as always, is maybe manifest how you want to feel when you get there rather than the specifics, because those wires can get crossed, but the feelings less so. So Thursday is a beautiful day for that. It's a great day to plan for the future. It's a great day to look at your finances. Um, Mercury in Pisces isn't the best when it comes to numbers. However, when I say look at finances, I'm not meaning run numbers. I'm meaning more of like being like, how do you want to dream going forward? What is the place we are starting from and where do we want to go? It's less of like the technical side of things because that's not very fluent in Mercury and Pisces, but seeing what you have, accepting it for what it is, and then being like, these are my dreams. And I really encourage you to play big, to believe in something bigger, to expand your horizons and edges. Don't let the fear of being disappointed make you play safe, because life is disappointing by nature in a lot of ways. So once you can accept that, you can play as big as you want. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But with an incredibly high threshold, you have a much wider range of success. Um, so I encourage you to kind of open those portals and those things, partially because the next day we have Saturn entering Aries for the last time. We had the entrance, the ingress in retrograde last year, and now Saturn is officially in Aries. It'll be there until 2028. If you want to know like timing, it entered March 2023. So I encourage you to kind of look back and see what Saturn in Pisces has been doing. More so than even most planets, I find that Saturn absolutely sticks doggedly to the themes of the house that it is in. It is very one to one. I find that Venus and Mars and the personal planets and even Jupiter can be a bit interpretive when it comes to the houses they are in. Not Saturn. If it is in the 10th house, career, legacy, perception. If it is in the 7th, it is absolutely intimate relationships. There's no escaping that. It's not an ideal or a thought. The literal thing is happening in that house. So I would encourage you to go look and see what was going on, where you were, what started back in March of 2023, what things, specifically with Saturn, what things started to crumble and fall apart, and where they are now. And astrology doesn't really work in the function of time as a linear idea. Astrology works forward, backwards, side to side. It's very spherical. So you can educate yourself by looking back. You can educate yourself by projecting forward. You can sit in the moment and understand what's going on. You can twirl around and figure something out. And so we often learn by looking back in astrology while also learning by projecting forward and being predictive. It's a really beautiful art form. And so go back and look and see what has been happening, and then also look at where Saturn is entering into. So where Aries is in your birth chart, and project that forward and see what you think is going to happen. Following your intuition, it's a fun little game to play. And if you're wrong, you're wrong. But if you're listening to your intuition, you're probably going to be right. I will say I do have an issue with my chart where I don't want to be right, so I don't want to predict certain things. I obviously couldn't have known exactly everything that would have happened in my 7th house, but it was very one to one. I'll just say that. So this is a really big moment. It is leading up to the conjunction that is going to be happening later this month. I'm always forgetting the exact day, which makes sense because it's Neptune. Yeah, the 21st. So yeah, on the 21st, we have the Saturn-Neptune conjunction. This is a big deal. The last time we had one, I believe, was in '89. And so it's been a long time coming. And Neptune obscures things, and Saturn brings things crumbling down. So it's going to be an interesting energy, because we're not going to quite know everything that's going on, but we are also going to see things collapsing when it comes to ideology, when it comes to the smoke screens that people have been putting up around themselves, when it comes to people hiding parts of themselves or engaging in not so great behavior. Also, part of the reason this is going to be incredibly revelatory is it is a sextile Pluto. And so we're also going to be pulling in, and I'll do a longer video. I know I'm getting sidetracked here, but it's pulling in that energy of Pluto, the falling down, the destruction of things. And so it's going to be really revelatory. This is also a time to really be watching and paying attention to the people around you. If you want any information about their intentions or behaviors, next week's going to be a big one for that. So just be aware, just pay attention. But this is the big event of the week. This is what we'll be leading forward to. This is what you're going to be seeing a lot of astrologers talking about. Because we're moving into, not only a big, 2-year cycle, because we've already kind of burnt the half year with the entrance and retrograde and last year's stuff. So with 2 years of this energy now. But also this big, 30 plus year event in astrology with Neptune and Saturn. Neptune moves really slowly and Saturn moves fairly slowly. And so it takes them a while to come back together, and they will not be returning to this place for quite some time. So yeah, it's a big moment. Aries is about kind of initiation and newness and fire and rage. And so I think a lot of people are going to actually put it this way. A lot of people are going to be at a crossroads where they can choose. They get a choice though, where they get to choose if they want to be deluded or not. And if people want to continue to be deluded about the state of the world, they will continue so. So if you are having someone in your life who is very pro dangerous ideology, I'll say that, and very anti-immigrant, or is kind of definitely supportive of violence and wants to ignore the things that are coming out about people in power right now, this week, next week, and the eclipses, if they do not change their mind, then it's very much a choice and you get to make a decision based on that. I'm just going to say that. If you're hanging on for hope that someone is going to change, the next 3 weeks to a month are really going to show you if that is a possibility. And I encourage you to, hear what is being said either by word or deed and make your choices accordingly. And then our final event, which is on Sunday, we have Sun square Uranus. And this is our last Sun square Uranus in words in Taurus. For a minute, it's, Uranus has a 7-year cycle in a sign, so 7 times 12. Some of us are not going to see Uranus back in Taurus. And by some of us, if you're an adult, probably not. But this square is a challenge to what is going on currently. It is a challenge to the way that we're handling the environment. It is a challenge to what is considered innovation. It's a challenge to capitalism. Uranus in Taurus has really highlighted the ways in which capitalism is deeply damaging. And some people are choosing to listen to it and recognize it and see that capitalism is not a free blossoming economy. It is a extraction system. And so I think a lot of that's going to be coming to the surface. I also think a lot of the cracks across the US, if you live in the US, are going to start to show as far as the economy, especially. Feels like that's a big one. So just be aware that especially the end of this week is extra spicy. As far as personally, this is us kind of having to face off with change and how we participate in change and accept change, and also not change for just change's sake, not change because we feel guilty, not change because we are forced to, but change how we want to do it, and also what is sustainable for us, making sure that we looking ahead and seeing that Uranus is going to be in Gemini, creating change now that is sustainable, because Uranus in Gemini is going to burn a lot of energy. And so what are things that you can do consistently over time to show up for yourself, for your community, for your family, without completely torching yourself and burning yourself to the ground. It's also a moment in a more practical sense for some people of surgery or prepping for surgery or some kind of medical intervention. So if you're prepping for that, very on very on topic astrologically. And if you've been putting off some medical stuff, Sun Square Uranus is a good time to look into it. In medical astrology, Uranus really represents a lot of the medical innovation that we didn't have when when astrology was originally formed and created and given a language. It's not really created. And so, if you need a medical procedure that would be considered innovative 100 years ago, which most medical procedures are, it's very on topic. So, if you've been putting something off, go get it looked at. Um, if this isn't a part of your chart that is less visible, then this is also about your spiritual growth and your ability to be a bit more flexible and forward thinking, while also recognizing there are parts of you that you have to work with, that you will not be changing ever, and that's totally fine. There are parts of us that are just not going to change. I'm autistic. That's never going away. Um, Something I have to train my therapist in. But yeah, and there is a beauty to that permanency while recognizing that you can innovate within the structure that you're existing in. Anywho's, my dears, that is the astrology for this week. If you have any questions, comments, pop them below. I love to answer them. Um, this is big astrology. Like I said, next week, let me take a peek. Yeah, next week is even more red letter than this week. We have the eclipse, we have the beginning of Pisces season, we have the Saturn Neptune conjunction. We're getting into the Jupiter trines, which is nice. Yay. Love some Jupiter trines, especially with that being kind of like the only thing that's offsetting a lot of this energy. So just know that we are also really building towards an intense week next week. And that is important to remember, because a lot of this can feel even bigger and even more overwhelming, especially when we are in an eclipse portal. And it can be helpful to remember that this is just where we are and that things will shift, but we are in it now, and it's time to commit to that transformation and change. All right, my dears, that is my reading. I will, of course, be posting a eclipse video at the end of this week, because we'll be heading into those next week, probably on Sunday. I will also, I'm thinking about doing a video about eclipse season, just in general. We'll see. But also, because we're coming up on Pisces season, I will be doing the tarot reading for each sign. And then I will also be doing the kind of overview of Pisces season, which is a pretty eventful one, because we're doing the eclipses and we're entering into Pisces season during eclipses. And so those will be up in the next week or so, just so you're aware, just so you can keep an eye out. And if you do want to keep an eye out, you can subscribe, and you can also put your notifications on to know when I've posted. Anyways, my loves, I wish you a blessed week. These are big times that you are, maybe not, because I don't feel this way, more than capable of handling it, but you are more than capable of enduring it, unfortunately for us. And I wish you all well as we navigate these intense